Hypnotizing your brain for success is the Machiavellian art of mastering illusion within until it becomes undeniable reality without. To understand this, one must first accept that the human mind is far more easily persuaded than it likes to admit. Just as the people of a state are ruled not by truth but by appearances, so too is your brain ruled less by raw logic and more by repeated impressions, by carefully crafted suggestions, by the deliberate shaping of perception. If you wake each morning and allow your thoughts to wander without control, your mind will betray you. It will chase weakness, fear, and distraction. But if you discipline it as a prince disciplines his court, you can bend it toward the path of triumph. In this sense, success is not a mystical accident, but an engineered state of being, a mental conquest before it is ever a material conquest. Machiavelli understood that power begins not with armies, nor with riches, but with belief. Belief in the possibility of dominion, belief that fortune can be bent to will. To hypnotize your brain for success is to wield this same principle internally. You must train your mind to see possibility where others see obstruction, to rehearse victory until the sensation of achieving it becomes so familiar that failure feels foreign. This is not idle dreaming, for dreaming alone weakens a man, making him soft with fantasy. This is about strategy, about repetition, about planting a single powerful idea and feeding it until it grows into the architecture of your reality. The brain is like the people of Florence, restless, easily swayed by rumor, tempted by distraction. Yet if guided firmly, it can be brought to obey. And once it obeys, its obedience brings results. The hypnotic process begins with the recognition that your mind cannot serve two masters. It cannot serve both fear and ambition, both doubt and certainty. Like a ruler who tolerates no rival, you must eradicate the thoughts that diminish your power. This does not mean they will never appear. It means they will not be allowed to rule. The hypnotizing of the brain is an act of governance, a constant reinforcement of command. When weakness whispers, you respond with counter-command. When distraction beckons, you redirect. Over time, these repeated acts create a mental empire that functions under your rule. You become not the servant of your thoughts, but their sovereign, and this sovereignty is the true foundation of success. Consider the role of illusion. A prince who appears strong even when his resources are fragile deters rebellion. Similarly, a mind that insists upon its strength even before evidence exists begins to act with the force of that conviction. Others respond not to your hidden doubts but to your projected certainty. Thus, the hypnotized brain is a weapon, not only against your own hesitation but also in persuading the world. Men will believe you capable because you yourself have believed it so deeply that you cannot help but exude authority. Success in the world is never a matter of pure ability alone. It is a matter of convincing others that your path is inevitable. By hypnotizing your brain, you convince first yourself and then, by contagion, all who deal with you. Repetition is the instrument of this hypnosis, just as Machiavelli advised rulers to rehearse their strength through ritual displays, military parades, ceremonies of power, public demonstrations of order. You too must repeat the rituals of your desired success until they ingrain themselves into your nervous system. Each morning becomes a performance of certainty, each action a declaration of intent, each choice a reminder that you are moving toward mastery. Over time, these rehearsals shape the brain's pathways, turning what was once an effort into habit and what was once habit into identity. The man who daily convinces himself of triumph eventually ceases to play act and simply becomes triumphant. Yet, this is not to be mistaken for mere positive thinking. Machiavelli had no patience for sentimental illusions detached from reality. To hypnotize your brain is not to lie to yourself with empty words, but to align your internal narrative with purposeful action. If you declare yourself a ruler yet refuse to build the army, you will be destroyed. If you tell yourself you are destined for success yet do not labor, you are delusional. True hypnosis combines belief with calculated steps. Each suggestion to the mind must be followed by deeds that reinforce the suggestion. In this way, the illusion ceases to be false and gradually becomes reality. The world bends not simply because you imagined it, but because your imagination drove you to act with relentless cunning. The danger lies in forgetting that the brain, like the people, is fickle. It requires constant reinforcement. Allow it too much liberty, and it will drift back to laziness and fear. This is why discipline is essential. Machiavelli praised the disciplined prince, the one who never allowed himself to grow complacent in times of peace, always preparing for war. So too must you prepare your brain, never assuming that one day of conviction will last forever. Hypnotizing the mind is a lifelong campaign, a daily act of reinforcing power. Neglect it, and you risk rebellion within your own thoughts, the uprising of doubt, the siege of hesitation. Only vigilance sustains the hypnosis. Another key principle is the management of fortune. Machiavelli saw fortune as a river, wild and destructive but capable of being channeled by the prepared. The hypnotized brain treats fortune not as an enemy, but as material. Every setback becomes a lesson to reinforce determination. Every obstacle a test of cunning. If you hypnotize your brain to interpret failure not as defeat but as instruction, then fortune itself becomes your accomplice. The common man is broken by failure because he allows his brain to dwell on humiliation. The cunning man hypnotizes his brain to see in failure only another step toward mastery. Thus fortune, though uncontrollable, is bent by the way your mind interprets it. It is also essential to recognize the role of environment. Just as a prince surrounds himself with loyal advisors and eliminates those who threaten his rule, you must shape your environment so that it supports the hypnosis of your mind. Surround yourself with voices that reinforce strength, not weakness. Habits that feed ambition, not lethargy. Places and objects that remind you of your mission, not your distraction. The brain is susceptible to suggestion not only from within but also from without. To hypnotize it fully, you must orchestrate both. In this sense, you are staging a theater of success around you, ensuring that every scene reinforces the play you wish your brain to believe. Above all, the Machiavellian lesson is that success is never granted. It is seized through will, cunning, and relentless psychological mastery. To hypnotize your brain is to practice the very essence of power, the ability to command perception, to manufacture reality from conviction, to rule not only over others but first over yourself. If you cannot command your own thoughts, you will never command anything beyond them. But if you seize that command, if you implant the illusion of certainty and reinforce it with discipline, action, and strategy, then in time the illusion becomes truth. Thus, the secret is revealed. Success does not arrive when fortune smiles. It arrives when your brain has been hypnotized to expect nothing less. The prince who believes he cannot fail terrifies his enemies, inspires his followers, and bends circumstances to his will. The man who believes he cannot fail does the same within his own life. Hypnotize your brain, and you build an empire first in thought, then in deed, and finally in reality. For what begins as illusion, when maintained with Machiavellian cunning, becomes undeniable truth.